Hello and welcome to another episode on my channel. This one is a very special episode because it is the 1 year anniversary since my first upload on YouTube. And because of that, I really wanted to make a special video to commemorate that 1 year. This one is not gonna be a devlog, but I hope you're gonna stick around, hear me rambling, and maybe if you have some questions or maybe you have a different opinion, then you can share it in the comment section and we can discuss it. When I started YouTube, I only made it to share my work with others, mainly my friends, and also because I wanted to use this as a motivational tool for me to keep continuing to work on my game. I've been watching a lot of 1 year anniversary videos from a lot of YouTubers, and I always wondered what could I make in my video that would be really relevant, so to say, or I didn't think I would have anything to talk about in such a video. But I realized that there's actually a really important topic to be talked about in this video, and that is exactly what the title says: how overscoping can actually prevent you from ever finishing a game. Uh, it's an easy topic for me to talk about because I've been there a lot of times, and I've actually been there while making videos on this channel as well. Let's start from the beginning and then we'll just work our way through my journey. When I started this project, I knew I had motivation issues. I had a lot of previous projects started and never finished simply because when I had an idea in my head, and I think many of you can relate with this, I really wanted to put it down in code and have it work and everything. And in my head, the idea seemed so amazing that I had to show it to everyone. And then I started working on it, and after very little time, I realized I got bored of the project. Although I really liked the idea and I really liked it, simply coding it wasn't a challenge anymore, it wasn't interesting anymore. So I started working on the project, and as you could have seen from my initial devlogs, I progressed really well. In the beginning, I had a lot of motivation. I skipped a lot of gaming sessions and I worked on my project every bit of free time I had. I just reached to a point where my initial list of must-have features from the documentation were done. And I was really happy with that. Basically, I had everything set up, I had a running game, but it didn't have anything, so to say. It was just the core mechanics of it and no feature whatsoever. And that was like 3 to 4 months of work for me. And that is when reality struck me. Um, I didn't think of it as overscoping back then. I just felt like I was overwhelmed with all the information and overwhelmed with all the things that I still had needed to implement to have a working game that was actually fun. And slowly but steadily, I just kept losing motivation until like 6 months into a project, when it was actually the holiday seasons as well, and I had free time from work as well, and there was a lot of time I could spend working, but instead I spent chilling and telling to myself and everyone else around me that I'm just taking a little break from the project and taking a little break from YouTube, and afterwards everything will be fine. But it wasn't really, because I just didn't feel like going back to my game anymore. It felt like a tedious task to just keep working on something that doesn't end, and I didn't see a future in it either. And that is when I realized that the project itself was a huge overscoped idea that I will probably not be able to realize with the current knowledge and the time I set out myself to work on it. Uh, yeah, basically, I had to decide whether I would still work on the project or I throw it away and start with a new idea, and then I never actually finish a game, because before that I had like 5 other games I started exactly the same and never finished. And after a lot of thinking, I ended up coming back to YouTube again because I wanted to share my progress and because I wanted YouTube to keep motivating me just as it does now as well. And in the same time, I wanted to rework my game. I cut down half of my ideas and then I cut down half more because I just simply realized they weren't good enough and they weren't really mandatory to have a gameplay. I decided that I just want to have something small, but something that I can say that I finished, I worked on, and I'm proud of. Basically, I had to work 1 year on my game, 1 year worth of free time spent on a game just to realize the importance of overscoping and how not to do that, basically. I watched a lot of videos on this topic and I thought I understood it every time I watched them. But then I got back to my game and just decided to add more features, more ideas, and more pathways because I thought that making a great game means that you have to have a lot of gameplay in it and you also have to have a lot of game time in it. If someone gets bored of your game or doesn't like your game from the get-go, then that's bad. So I wanted to satisfy everyone, but that's obviously not possible. So basically, I realized how important it is to just have a small game, but it that is working and it is finalized rather than having a big game with a lot of possibilities in it. But even though it's a great one on paper, you never finish it, so it doesn't exist and there's nothing to show to anyone else. Um, I'm really happy that I got past this, and even now I feel like I'm overscoping a lot of times. And basically, the best idea and the best uh, tip I can give to anyone is probably see how much you work 1 week on your game and see how much you progress on it. And it is a great idea to just keep cutting features every week, like one feature per week, until you finish the whole game. Because there's definitely a lot of ideas in your game that do not need to be implemented right away. And if you have a completed game that you can show to other people, you will also get a lot of feedback that will also come with a lot of improvements, changes, and that is what really is important. It is important to have people play your game, and us as creators want to experience that rather than the part where you just implement and never finish. So keep that in mind. Also, another thing that I wanted to talk about is actually uh, that I didn't really play to my strengths at all. Like I'm a developer, I'm a programmer, and I know that about myself. I am not really into graphics. It's really hard for me to. I mean, I can appreciate art and I can appreciate great graphics. I really love simple graphics because it's way harder to keep things simple, just as I discussed in this whole video. Um, but I'm not really a great artist myself. I don't know, or it takes so much time for me to make animations for objects and make anything graphic that it's not really worth for me to spend that amount of time. Maybe sometime I will have the free time to also work on that, but currently I just want to improve what I already know, and that is basically development. And because of that, my my previous idea in the game wasn't a great one because it required a lot of animations, it required a lot of characters. I actually found a character pack that I ended up buying just for my game, but even so, there was so much graphics missing that it never felt right. I kept using placeholders, but they just weren't great. So with my new approach to my game, I actually started working towards my strengths and working on them even more. Basically, I focused on the logical part of the game. My whole game is very UI based, and it will probably be like that in the end as well. And it requires way more programming knowledge, way more logic behind the scenes rather than graphical knowledge. And that is very important, because if you do something that you are good at, or you try to improve on what you're good at, then you'll have a lot of motivation and a lot of fun doing that. But if you're struggling with something that you don't even like, for example, me and making art, then you will lose motivation really fast and you will not want to work on your game because of that. So yeah, this was my 1 year special episode. It's a completely different one because I haven't really talked like this before. I'm usually the type of person who answers to questions rather than asking them and then answering them. But let me know what you think about it, and I might consider making these type of videos in the future as well. There is a lot of things to learn from working alone, that is for sure. Let me know what you think about this, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.